watch the video and watch the demo. And then in the end, it's up to you guys if you want to network or if you want to get hands on in the Trailhead org, or you have to go get a special org in Trailhead. It takes like 5 minutes to set it up, and we can get started hands on if you guys are up for it tonight.
So, Gabby, could you share that link, so that everybody could maybe get that part of it going and they would be ready for when that time comes?
Yep, let me get that. Let me grab that for you guys. So I'm going to go off camera during the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. We can get started with that. And then let me look for that and drop it in the chat.
Thank you.
So we're going to start with Prompt Builder. So I'll give you the link to that. And it's just the Quick Start Prompt Builder project in Trailhead. And if you follow this link, it'll tell you. Here we go. How to get your 5-day trial org with Einstein. Some of you may already have access to Einstein, and that's great. Let me go here in the chat. Okay, so you guys can get started getting that org set up, and I'm going to get started with my spiel over here. All right, so I'm going to go off camera for this part. All right, so hello, fellow tech enthusiasts, and thank you for joining me tonight. Let's prepare for an exciting journey through the AI and data community tour. Today, I'm delighted to introduce the captivating integration of CRM, AI, data, and trust on Salesforce, offering a guiding light for developers, admins, architects, and all enthusiasts in pursuit of innovation. We'll move on. But before we do, our forward-looking statement, just a quick reminder that Salesforce is a publicly traded company, and customers should base their purchasing decisions on products and services that are currently available. And before we move on too far, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. The Trailblazer community is where the Salesforce magic happens. You're the tech wizards who infuse life into innovation by sharing ideas and passion at events like this. So a big thank you for joining the fun today. We're going to get started. We have a lot to cover. We will start with introductions to the products and concepts that we will use, and we'll dive deep into demos, and then we're going to get hands-on. So let's get started with some terminology. We will use this in this session. There's going to be several terms, and I'm going to explain them first, so just in case not everyone is familiar with them. So let's start with generative AI. So generative AI refers to a type of artificial intelligence that synthesizes new content, such as text, images, or music, by leveraging patterns and insights gleaned from extensive data sets to produce novel and coherent outputs. This is different from predictive AI, which is more like a weather forecaster for data, analyzing past information to make educated guesses about what might happen next. LLMs, or large language models. Imagine AI is a super smart student who has read an enormous library of texts and can now write or chat about almost any topic because of all that knowledge. That's what an LLM is. There are general purpose models like ChatGPT or Google Gemini, or there are domain specific models like for code generation. We interact with an LLM by using prompts. So what is a prompt? Think of a prompt as a starting line of an AI conversation or task. This is where you tell the LLM what you're looking for, whether it's writing a story, solving a problem, or answering a question. Prompts should be grounded. So what is grounding? Grounding ensures that the AI's responses are not just creative, but also accurate and relevant to the real world. Like making sure a story or explanation sticks to the facts. By providing prompts enriched with data, you ensure better AI responses. And then retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. RAG combines the creativity of AI with the ability to quickly look up information, similar to how you might brainstorm ideas, but also search the web for facts to make sure your ideas are accurate. And finally, reasoning. When AI is reasoning, it's like walking through a problem step by step, using logic to connect the dots from question to answer, almost like a detective piecing together clues to solve the case. Okay, so now that we've set the foundation, let's get to it. And let's see what you guys can build with AI and data. We're going to start with Einstein 1 Studio. Einstein 1 Studio is a set of builders that bring generative AI capabilities to Salesforce. Those builders are the following: Copilot Builder, Prompt Builder, and Model Builder. Each of those builders has its own capabilities, and we'll dive into some of those in just a few minutes here. We're going to start with Prompt Builder. We'll show you how it works through a demo, and we'll also discuss what it can do for you. But before we get to the demo, in the introduction, I defined a prompt as the initial step in an AI conversation or task. If you're familiar with tools like ChatGPT or Google Gemini, you've likely crafted a prompt. The Prompt Builder tool allows you to create prompt templates that can be shared with your users in various ways. Consider the different scenarios within your organization or the use cases, right? So like composing an email or summarizing a case, which usually involves a considerable amount of work. By instructing an LLM to produce a specific result, it can streamline tasks for your users, saving them time. A significant aspect of Prompt Builder is its ability to access data from your CRM, data cloud, and other external systems. This is crucial because AI is not very effective without data. We'll explore this further in the demo shortly. But additionally, since prompt templates utilize metadata, they can be seamlessly integrated and utilized across all your daily tools. So whether that's a flow, on a record page, in Apex, and more. Before we get into the demo, I'd like to briefly discuss the various types of templates that Salesforce offers. So as you can see on this nice table here, Salesforce currently offers 4 distinct template types. There's one for sales, one for field generation, one for record summary, and the flex template. Each type serves specific use cases as detailed in the table. The table also indicates the types of input that can be utilized, and more importantly, the entry points from which the template can be accessed. There isn't just one way to use a template. There is ample flexibility to cater to your specific needs. But let's not talk anymore, and let's see it in action.
For this module, I'm going to walk you through the Quick Start Prompt Builder on Trailhead.
Before I continue, can everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And for 2 reasons. First of all, it provides you a very good and tangible example on how to use a field generation prompt template. Secondly, you also get the ability to sign up for a trial org with Einstein Generative AI. So actually, you can get yourself hands-on. For this demo, the goal is to add a quick summary field to a case layout. As you may envision, as a service agent, you have to go through many case commands, read several description fields. And to take this work off your users, we're going to use generative AI capabilities by grounding a prompt with relevant case data, send this to a large language model, and use that response in this quick summary field. Now, the very first thing you have to do is you have to go to Setup, and you have to enable the Einstein Generative AI features. Because when I go here and when I look for prompt, there's nothing. So I'm going to go to Einstein Setup. There we are. And we're going to turn on the switch. Now, behind the scenes, this is now setting up the infrastructure that your org can actually communicate with a large language model. We're going to hit refresh. and gonna see what our setup brings. And there's Prompt Builder. The Prompt Builder interface is really simple. You know it from existing things like the flow. And the first thing we're going to do is we create a new prompt template. As mentioned in the presentation, there are different prompt template types. And this trial has actually 3 of them enabled: field generation, flex, and record summary. As we want to use field generation, we leave the value as is. We add a prompt template name, call it quick summary. And we give it a template description, like a short summary of case details. I want to highlight at this point that things like a template description or field labels and anything else where you add actually text to your metadata becomes even more important when you're working with generative AI, because all of these things are fed into the large language model and will just enhance the response that you're getting from an AI. So because we want to use a case, I'm just going to say case as my object. And the field actually where this should happen is our quick summary. The Trailhead org already provides the quick summary custom field in here. I'm going to go next. And now we're in Prompt Builder. And I want to first walk you through some of the user interface parts here. Here's the main text input. This is where you add your prompt. This can be any type of text. And we're going to play a bit with this. Here, you have your resource field. Because we have to ground our prompts with data, this is where you can actually reference the data, like a case or a current user, your organization, as well as, depending on your different configurations, data from a flow or from Apex or from Data Cloud. Now, this is a very basic field generation template, so that's why you see resources based on the case. On the right, you can configure the used large language model. And out of the box, we offer access to different OpenAI models, either directly OpenAI as well as hosted on Azure. For this use case, I'm going to use OpenAI GPT-4. The different models have different use cases. Some are more concise, some are more verbose, some are faster, and you're going to play with it based on the response you actually want. Now, talking about responses, here in the bottom, we have the preview options. First, the resolution. The resolution shows you the data that you use to ground in your prompt template. So everything you see that is fed into grounding will be available here. And on the right, we're going to see the actual large language model response. Now, let's try it out. Write a poem about Salesforce Trailhead. This has nothing to do with our case, but it just shows you we can send anything to the large language model. I can't do anything here because I first have to relay the record. So let's pick this record, 1002, and I can save and preview. Now my prompt is sent to the large language model, GPT-4, and within a couple of seconds, we will see in the bottom right here the poem. So again, anything you put into your prompt is sent to the large language model. Now, this is not really useful for our case. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some real text into our prompt. For this, I'm going to Trailhead, and I'm going to pick the text that is defined here. So quick summary, I'm going to replace my poem ask. And this is now the instruction. Summarize the concatenation of contents of the comment bodies of comments, along with the text from subject, the case priority, and the case type. Now, these are all placeholders, and we want now to change these placeholders to the actual data. So I'm going to change comments to case, and then let's go to case comments. You can see we can reference a related list on this object. Then I want to go to subject. Again, go to case, and let's scroll to subject. There we are. We're going to pick the priority. Again, pick our resource, case priority, as well as the case type. So we go, case, and it's called case type. There you go. A very basic prompt, but now enriched with dynamic references to your CRM data. I'm going to hit save and preview, and now we're going to see data in the resolution as well as the response. Again, it takes a couple of seconds. And there we are. In the resolution, you see all of that data that was automatically fetched. It's called dynamic grounding. So comment data and created data from the case as well as regular data from the case. Here you see our instructions. Keep the response to a single short paragraph. Now, this is all sent to the large language model. And on the right, you see the response. If we want, we can modify this. And this is what you should actually do, because refining your prompts is something that is really needed depending on what you want. In this case, I can say make it a poem. Again, not really useful in the business context, but again, just shows you on how you can influence with a simple instruction the response. This is a very short poem. Very nice, because we also said keep the response to a single short paragraph. If we're changing this and removing this, run another save and preview, we'll get back a longer poem. It is really important to understand that every instructions you're sending will influence the response. Again, takes a couple of seconds because building a poem is sometimes not easy. And there we are. Now we have a longer poem. Okay, we're just going to change this because we don't want poems in our business context. Let me quickly save it. Now, saving is not everything. We also have to activate the prompt that it actually can be used. Now, when I go to our case record, we have here already our quick summary field. And it is a regular text field. I can just enter my text. But this is not what we want. We want actually to use Einstein and prompt templates to have our service agents fill this field. Now, the first step we're going to do is we go to edit the page. And because we associated the quick summary field with a prompt template, we have now an additional option available on the quick summary, which is Einstein Generative AI. And here's our quick summary template. This adds, as you can see, this Einstein icon. And as you also can see, this is not a regular layout. This is a dynamic forms layout, which is needed if we want to use this capability. So I'm going to save my layout. And I'm going back to the record page. And now the icon changed. I have now my Einstein quick summary field action. It's analyzing my request already. It's figuring out the next steps, sending on the dynamic grounded prompt to the large language model. And within a snap, we will get back our response. That's pretty cool. So let's hit use. It's added to the field. I'm going to save it. And now the quick summary generated by Einstein is on my record. There are also some additional capabilities which are also pretty cool. Not fully related to prompt templates, but also I want to highlight those. When we added this, we can actually talk to Einstein, because if I'm getting my quick summary field, I can also execute it from here, analyzing my request and grounding the data and sending the data back. Again, we can use it also from here. Because we are talking to a large language model and the user has now the ability to interact with it, we can do also other things like change the language to Chinese. Gonna send it. And then we have the same answer here in Chinese.
So that's the end of that demo. So we'll move on. Any questions on that, or do you want to wait till the end?
For this module, I'm going to walk you through.
All right, so let's talk about, after observing the prompt builder in action and observing how that works, let's delve into the Einstein trust layer, right? So you've experienced the potential of a prompt. Let's explore the inner workings when a prompt is sent to an LLM and it generates a response. Everything begins with the prompt. And as we added data to our prompt through merge fields in the case, we enabled dynamic grounding. The following step involves data masking. That's where sensitive personally identifiable information, or PII for short, is recognized and substituted with placeholders to prevent your data from being transmitted to the LLM. An additional step that Salesforce takes is prompt defense. With prompt defense, your prompt is getting wrapped into other prompt instructions, which is a way to filter out damaging responses. Your prompt is then sent to the LLM that you are connected to, or you can bring your own model in the future, not there yet. And Salesforce has zero retention policy agreements, which means your prompts and responses are never stored. So zero retention. After conducting toxicity detection to remove any bias or harmful content, the data is unmasked or demasked to reveal the PII that was concealed before it was transmitted to the LLM. And then it's added to a feedback framework that lets your users indicate if the content was helpful enough and helps the system improve. All of that is also stored in an audit trail so that you can validate how your users are using prompts, their quality, and the responses. So you can start fine-tuning how this will be applied in your org. So now let's dive into Einstein Copilot. Oops, sorry. Einstein Copilot is a conversational AI that is available in every Salesforce app. You can just type in a request in natural language, such as, "Hey Einstein, update the close date for my largest opportunity next month." And Einstein will find that opportunity and update the close date. That's right, you don't just get an answer, you also get an action so that you can make quick work of any to-do list. Unlike classic chatbots that were limited in the types of conversations they could carry, copilots can reason, enabling them to break down a request into a simple set of tasks and then find the right tools for each item on that to-do list. Einstein Copilot is different than other AI assistants built to this point for a few key reasons. First, it knows your data through secure grounding. Within the guardrails of the Einstein trust layer, Einstein Copilot generates accurate and trusted responses in natural language that are grounded in a company's proprietary CRM, data cloud, and external data. Perhaps even more unique is that it also knows your metadata. So Einstein Copilot respects everything from your custom schema to the permissions you've established. It dynamically adapts suggested actions based on what page you're on, recommending things like summarize opportunity when you're on the opportunity page, but it'll also show new leads when on the lead page so that you can be more productive. And it is extensible. Admins, developers, and partners can configure their Copilot by building and customizing actions for their unique business needs. Actions invoke flows, Apex code, prompts, and/or external APIs, and provide Copilot with the precise instructions for how to execute tasks. So let's break down the different types of actions that are available. I'm going to start with standard actions. All actions made by Salesforce are considered standard Copilot actions. Copilot is a platform. It comes out of the box with generic actions that are useful across all clouds. Clouds build on top of the platform and create their actions for specific use cases. For example, to make an action involving generating a record summary, you can build on top of the platform action, summarize record, so a team doesn't have to build all the functionality from scratch. Customers, ISVs, and partners can create their own actions as well, and those are called custom actions. You can create actions from scratch or use the platform actions as a starting point. These custom actions can leverage standard actions, prompt templates, existing flows, external services, or Apex invocable actions. Think of them as a way of leveraging everything you've already built in Salesforce, your existing functionality, to use inside of Copilot. Building actions that leverage external services are a stretch goal for GA and will likely come in a later release. So now that we know what Copilot actions there are, let's revisit how it works. Everything with Copilot begins with conversations. It takes in a request like a free-form prompt. Then it uses the LLM as a reasoning engine to create a dynamic plan for solving a business problem. So like for helping a customer, for example, to return an order or preparing talking points for a customer call. Reasoning means the LLM chooses the right sequence of actions for getting the output you want. And those actions are the ones you just saw. They're flows, Apex callouts, or prompt templates. So once it has a plan, it then strings together actions to kick off workflows that span your CRM, data cloud, and external data. And as it runs every step of that plan, a human is in the loop, providing additional input or validating an action, ensuring the end results are trusted and helpful. But enough talking, let's get into the demo.
For this demo, we're back in Trailhead, as we're using the Quick Start Einstein Copilot for this demo. And this actually shows you what a custom Copilot action is, as we're going to build it using a flow. Now, I would say, let's dive in. We're back in our org, and we're looking here at all orders. And Edge Communications has two orders, 100 and 101. So if we click into this order, we see under the Details tab that currently there is no return status. And at the end of this demo, we want that our own Copilot actually changes the return status in this order. So when I go to Setup and I just enter Copilot, we see Einstein Copilot as a menu item. A precondition for this is, as you saw in the prompt builder demo, that you have to enable Einstein Generative AI. Now, we're going to enable Einstein Copilot for Salesforce. And within the snatch, we're going to see here, Copilot. Click on that. And from here, we are changing into the Copilot builder. This is a kind of a playground that shows all the capabilities, all the different actions that we just talked about in the presentation, as well as a preview of the conversation. I want that you see on the left, here are the standard actions, the platform actions that we just saw in the presentations. These are coming out of the box. And here on the right, I can actually communicate with Einstein. So let's do that. What actions can you do? It's checking what it can do. It's analyzing my request. It's sending my prompt basically to the large language model and comes back with a response. Now, cool. It tells me what it can do. Now, I think the next step is, let's see what he knows about Edge Communications. So tell me about account Edge Communications. And we're going to do this because now we're going to see reasoning in action. Again, it sends my question, my prompt, to the large language model. It's looking up what actions are available, and then it's executing on that. And with in the snap, we're going to see in the middle the dynamic plan, the reasoning that Einstein Copilot did just for us. And there we are. Now, two things. First of all, you see that Copilot, based on our input, identified, oh, I have to find a record, an account record, based on the given name. And the return result was the record ID. Then it identified the next step would be to use the summarized record standard action using this record ID. Now, based on that, we're getting the summary that we are seeing on the right, giving us links to the different records. Now, what I want to do is I want my own custom action that actually updates the order. Now, for this, I go back into Setup. I again enter Copilot. And I'm going to click Copilot Actions. This is where you can create your own custom action. Now, I'm going to click the button. And I can define what type of action I want to have. An action that is Apex and invoked by Apex. Is it flow or is it prompt template? For our use case, I'm going to use a flow. And we already have a flow in this Trailorg, which is called initiate return. We leave the label and the API name as they are and click on next. And now it's getting really interesting, right? It's really important. Everything you have here is text input that also translates into metadata. We are going to specify our own Copilot action instructions. It's a bit like a prompt because the LLM has to figure out, based on the instructions and the text we're providing below, as well as different field types and field labels that you define, which action to take. So the more specific you are, the better reasoning provide. Now for this, we're going back to Trailhead because there are a couple of instructions that we're now adding. So let me quickly copy this over here. And the Copilot action instruction is use initiate return for requests to return or refund orders or products in an order. Again, a very specific instruction so that the large language model actually understands what this action is for. Then for the inputs, we are clarifying that this input is an order record ID. So that in its reasoning, for example, if the source ID is an account ID, then it's not going to take this action for updating an order. I'm just overcopying this text at last. There we go. Okay, let's quickly check some boxes, and we're giving for the output also, this output indicates the status of the returning request, if it has been initiated, processed, or completed. And here is our new Copilot action. Now we go back, because we want to go to the Copilot builder. Quickly go here. Open this in Builder. We are seeing now our new action, initiate return. Now before we can add this, we have to deactivate this Copilot. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to assign it to Copilot. Changes are saved, and I'm now seeing initiate return in the assigned Copilot actions. So let's go back and activate it. And we're going to quickly refresh Copilot. Now, I'm going to ask him, tell me about order 101. Again, it's analyzing my request, chaining its actions, and within a couple of seconds, we're going to see the result. Now, what I want to do is to return this order. So I'm going to say return order 101. Again, analyzing my request is reasoning, and within a couple of seconds, we will see within the dynamic plan that it identified the record by name and it called our custom action initiate the return. Now, when we go back to our order and here's our return status field, I'm going to hit refresh. And there it is. It updated the record value just based on our natural language input. Very cool. Let's go back to the slides.
All right, guys. So our last thing we're going to cover is Data Cloud today. So it's our last chapter. So we talked earlier about the key is to have relevant data available for getting usable output from generative AI. And this is where Data Cloud can help. With Prompt Builder, you can also add data from Data Cloud to your prompts using a process called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. This is called Einstein Copilot Search, and it's currently in pilot. With RAG, the LLM doesn't need to be trained up front on this useful data. Instead, the relevant contextual data is simply given to the LLM by automatically augmenting the prompt itself with the relevant contextual data. And Copilot Search not only gives you access to all structured data like records, it also gives you access to unstructured data, like data that is stored in PDF documents or voice transcripts. And the same trust principles provided by the Einstein trust layer apply, which results in well-grounded and trusted AI responses. So let's look at this diagram that explains how it all works. Oops, sorry. So this provides an overview of the process within Data Cloud. All data inputted into Data Cloud is stored into the Data Cloud vector database. That's kind of a mouthful, sorry about that. This unique database merges structured and unstructured data, converting it into a numerical format known as vector embedding. This vector embedding simplifies data processing for AI systems, enabling them to compare the data to queries and provide meaningful responses. This technical process is fully integrated into Data Cloud. When a user submits a request referencing Data Cloud data, Copilot Search swiftly identifies relevant content and enhances the request before sending it to the trust layer. This leads to more precise prompts that elicit more relevant responses from the LLM. As we discuss data ingestion, let's briefly review how Data Cloud functions. We first connect all of your customer data at hyperscale. And we do this with an extensive library of out-of-the-box connectors native to Data Cloud and in partnership with MuleSoft Anypoint platform. Once we ingest and bring all your data into Data Cloud as streaming or batches, we prepare and transform it with clicks or code. But the challenge is that your data from any system can still be in a variety of forms. So Data Cloud harmonizes all of the data, right? So harmonizes all of this data, no matter the format, into a common data model. And together, these data models form a customer profile, or a single source of truth. This is your single source of truth for every customer. But the real power is that once your data is in Data Cloud, it's activated across all Salesforce applications. Those activations can be calculated insights, real-time segmentation, analytics in Tableau, triggered automations with Flow or platform events, and as we just learned, grounded AI. Okay, thanks, Larry. Thanks for joining. Okay, so to wrap up, so that's kind of all I have to present today. So you've learned a lot today, and you can keep learning and going with hashtag built with Einstein Quest. So you can follow that link that's on the screen there. This is a great opportunity to build a prompt template with Prompt Builder or an action with Copilot Builder. You can also share your case in a screen recorded video on X, formerly Twitter, or LinkedIn with the hashtag Built with Einstein. Complete the quest for a chance to win. So I'm just going to show that up here. So if you go to the developer site, there's the Built with Einstein. If we scroll down a bit, there are a couple of use cases that you can see from the experts. And you can also see what some people have built using Prompt Builder or Copilot. So we've dived into the sea of topics today, and I just want to give you all a massive thank you for swimming along with us today. And so if you guys want to move on to building, getting hands-on, we can definitely do that. Or if there's some Q&A, I saw some questions coming through. You feel free to unmute. Anna?
Yeah, there was a question I saw about documentations.
Yeah, so documentation has been kind of hard to come by, to be honest with you. I've been digging for my Einstein projects, and there just isn't a lot. So I'm trying to get in touch with the product team at Salesforce. I've been trying to chase that down to see if we can get more documentation. But
Yeah, particularly Lindsay would like to know about Service Cloud and Sales Cloud, how we can apply this, what action we can apply to Service and Sales Cloud.
Yeah, specifically with that, in the presentation, it said that there were standard actions and cloud actions, and it looked like it had the icons for sales versus Service Cloud. I'm working with a consulting company right now and Salesforce directly, and it looks like there's slightly different features available in Copilot based on the cloud licensure that you have. And I can't seem to get like good answers because we have mostly platform Force.com licenses versus Sales Cloud license, some Sales Cloud licenses, but it kind of varies by user, by profile, by, like which roles, like our personas. So just really hard to get like get any information on what's different between the cloud licenses because it might dictate how we rework our contract next year. Another question that I had, do you mind if I ask, because I am going to have to drop. Do any of you, it mentions also in that presentation that the different models have different uses and different use cases. Does anybody have any documentation on that?
we don't. This is all very new.
Even Salesforce is like, we don't. I'm relying more on Ben, Salesforce Ben right now.
Really, Salesforce Ben has been doing a good job of putting out. I'm in the same boat. I've been chasing down our SE and our AE for answers because I'm not finding a lot either.
Yeah. Okay.
So unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't have more answers to that. I'm just think Salesforce is slowly releasing the stuff.
I know we're getting ready to release internal models for our staff, for the service people, and for staff to use with HR. We built ourselves in-house. So I'm waiting to see how the bring your own model will work as we traverse from Dynamics to Salesforce.
Yeah, well, they're saying that's coming out in a future release, so I don't know how soon they're gonna.
I've got some time. I've got some runway. That's why.
But it's good that we're talking about it now. I wish there were more documentation. I'm in the same boat as you, Lindsay. I've been like asking questions everywhere. Nobody knows.
Maybe because it is like they are still booming. It is in the starting phase, maybe. They may come up with some documentation in coming future, I think.
Maybe it's like the rest of us. They're running so fast that the documentation is lacking.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but that's 30 years. It's been the same story.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Would it be
Even
possible?
from like a developer point of view, I do the same. Like we first like do the work and documentation following that. Probably Self was doing the same.
Maybe like for that model question, like choosing which model is best. I know like the individual, like on the outside, they have their own like documentation about like what they're best for. So since you're able to like choose from there, I guess picking the one that best suits your purposes, like you don't want to use, I guess, I don't even know. There's so many of them now, but you wouldn't want to use like an image generator for like text, you know. So I'm sure there's like certain ones where people know it's like, hey, this is better for like specific, I guess, things like, hey, we use it for service versus we use this for sales stuff. I'm sure like other people have used it enough to where it's like, you know, able to get proper responses back, or like, you know, like testing different, like literally testing each model through and seeing like, hey, what differences in the responses you get back for the same, like literally for everything being the same except for the model changing, because I'm sure there'd be discrepancies.
Yeah. So what should we do now? Shall we move on to hands-on, or you guys have to drop?
Does anyone want hands-on? Anybody want to take a stab at building something if they want to? I'm going to actually try to take that quest. I think it'll be fun to do.
Hmm.
I had a question around the metadata portion of it.
Sure.
So like, I guess if it has access to metadata, like is it able to, like, are we able to generate documentation based off of the model being able to read like the metadata? Would that even be would that be possible?
Not sure. I don't think anyone tried that, right?
Because it should be able to like at least like if you, I guess I can test it out now, but like I guess kind of like if it has access to all the metadata, you should be able to ask it like, you know, what's the data model of the org, and it should be able to kind of tell you without you going in and like, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We have to go through those things in details. But if
That
we
would
found the answer,
some-
we will.
I bet that would require some training. Like
Yeah.
whenever, like for example, one thing that we're seeing in Copilot right now is like if we say, find me an opportunity with a related record that has like the highest value in this field, it doesn't, like we need to train it to do that, to understand that relationship. So that's where like I'm starting to like identify trends that like, oh, it doesn't understand our object schema, the relationships between the objects. Once we teach it, then it's like, oh yeah, I know which path I'm going to get to that. And I guess that's why the prompts have us put the inputs, you know, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Christine, I would say give it a try. I mean, I think that's why they're giving us these playgrounds and stuff to, I think it's also new, but yeah, I agree with you may have to train the model to do that.
Well, because I know like I guess the how they present Einstein for Flow, how it's like how it should work, right? Like it's really, if everything is based off of like the descriptions and making sure all of the stuff has descriptions, like I guess in an org where the description box has been properly used as going through, and not necessarily things being fully documented, but just like those, like you put a lookup field on something and you tell it that, like, would that essentially be how we would train the model on stuff, since that description field would also be a part of the metadata, and that is essentially how it would read back to the model to like explain that relationship or the model relationship?
I don't know, Lindsay, any ideas? You're the one that's got like seems like you've been working on this.
Yeah, I'm like super deep in the weeds on prompts and flows and stuff, but I can't really, I'm focusing more on prompts and flows right now because our use cases for Copilot, actually we're flipping our whole strategy. So like we came up with all these awesome use cases and we're like Unity, and then we launched Copilot and nobody used our use cases. So now to generate use cases, we're live with Copilot. We're trying to figure out how to use Data Cloud to monitor utterances, to aggregate and find trending on questions asked that are failing, so that we could tune it based on user behavior instead of just shooting in the dark. And one of the things that we have been able to determine so far is that we need to train the AI through actions on the relationships to our major objects, because it fails like 100% of the time unless you really get specific and say this object is related to this object by a related list. When you do, and we can't expect users to do that. So
How is that relationship defined, Lindsay?
Through a related list in some cases, and sometimes through lookup fields. Lookup fields do better in performance in Copilot. If it's a field, like, and some, we've trained users now to say, if I look at like with the matter that I'm on, and we're in Litify, so we use matters, not opportunities or leads, intakes and matters versus opportunities and leads. On the matter that I'm looking at, the record that exists in this field, what is the value on that related record? And it's doing better now, but like our users are having to go real deep in their prompts, putting like, and in their conversation with Copilot to get answers.
So is that related list you're talking about different from the standard related lists? It seems like if it's related list, it seems like that would just know what the relationships are.
So it's not. It's just a standard related list. We are on dynamic forms, and we do have some lookup fields, which those have been working when we speak to the field, not necessarily like a related list lookup relationship or like a master detail relationship. So master detail relationships do seem to do better, though. I'll say that. Any childs to our parent object do seem to do better, but we're trying. The big problem is that the report set for Data Cloud for monitoring the utterances and stuff, like for monitoring all that, is not extremely comprehensive. It's very like the fields aren't logically or intuitively named. You have to like read through some JSON to like really get to what you need. You don't get like a username. You only get IDs. So just, I don't know if I always assume I'm just doing something wrong, but when I ask Salesforce directly questions and I get crickets, I'm like, okay, like, that's cool. So it's been a little, it's been a lot of like just trying a whole
Trial and error, yeah.
And not a lot of documentation.
Kind of what it is right now with this. I feel like that's kind of what it is with this generative AI.
I did drop like some learning outcomes that I've found that like, even with the consulting company and Salesforce, like they're like, this is great. Like, that you're figuring this out. There's like this generic error of death. Like if you're writing your prompt and you've got your record inputs, and then all of a sudden you're like, I need to ground this by like this related list by calling a flow. And you add the flow and you try to run you save and you try to run a preview on a record, and it just throws this red generic error in the middle. So of course, like we're devs, like we're like, okay, remove the last thing that you added and it should go away. You remove the last thing that you added, you run it, you save and run, and it still throws that error. The only way to get around it, so like my best practice, like the thing that now I'm just like, all right, I'm doing this on every time, is remove it, save, like I copy my prompt, paste it in a notepad, remove the whole thing, write like test or like something else, just some bogus stuff, save your new version, copy, paste from your notepad, put it back in. That's the only way to get that stupid error to go away. And you're gonna hit it. Those of you like that are just getting started with it, like I've hit it every single like try I've taken, I've hit that. And it seems to be after having like a prompt written and then trying to pull a flow in.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, like collection variable, you can't filter a collection variable. Like the component doesn't even exist in these new prompt types. So like that's really sucky for DMLs. You want to treat like the add prompt component within those flows like update components on an object. Like you only want to update one record once, so you only want to have one add prompt in each decision path. Like you can add multiple, but like at the end there should only be one executed in a given flow. I did determine, and I have not found any documentation, that when I was trying to do many add prompts in one flow in different sections, like, but within the same decision path, possible decision path, that was when I got that generic error and it didn't tell me anything. So when I removed that, when I changed, I was like, you know what? I was like, let me make this just one prompt instead. Boom, that error went away. And I was like, oh, but it's a generic error. It doesn't tell you anything. There's no email, there's no nothing. Like, even when you get into Data Cloud, because we went to prod thinking we might see more information. No, you don't.
Share that as some like maybe as an idea in the idea exchange. Share that. Show some error, proper error.
Yeah, Friday we have like a whole meeting scheduled where we're going to be dropping ideas in idea exchange because it's like,
I think you and your team are in the the main first set of teams trying this.
And that's the most frustrating part. It's kind of like, but you know, hopefully you guys have better chance or easier use cases. Maybe you guys just don't have like monster like use cases trying to solve world hunger, because I'm like hitting 11 objects and doing loops and and calculation hallucinations. Holy cow. If you're asking Copilot, or if you're asking Prompt Builder or Copilot to sum a value on a number of records, chances are it's going to be wrong every time, unless you do it in a flow. Just do it in a flow because it's perfect every time when you do it in a flow. But that was kind of a shocker to when we like launched out of the box. People were asking it like, tell me the value, like for example, tell me the policy limits for per person on this related list. And it would give us a number, but it was not accurate. So it was like we had to go to a flow.
What type of fields were you trying to sum or to accumulate?
Currency.
And were they all standard? Well, not standard's not the right term, but were any of them formula fields, or were they all kind of proper?
Yeah, they're just currency, not like formula or.
Okay.
Yeah, and Copilot also wasn't presenting currency data types as currency, like with the $ ahead of it. So had to train it to do that, which was interesting.
Yeah, and then when they fix it, you're going to get double currency symbols.
And you're going to find a lot of like sample prompts on Salesforce Ben has one like article with 5 sample prompts. Don't make the mistake of trying to use that thing. I tried it. I lost a whole day in dev because I was like trying to take pieces of that, like talking about keys, and I don't want to see provide in the prompt, that type of thing. Like, use just natural language. Don't try to clone what you see other people doing, because it's not always, it doesn't always work. Even if it makes sense, it doesn't always work. Like, it's very, I do find that just writing it out when there is no value in this data set, you know, don't present this row. Like, here's the instructions. And semicolons are your friend. If you're trying to create a list, put a semicolon at the end of your, like, when you want it to go to the next row, or if you want to put like a HTML like parenthesis or whatever, like you can do HTML calls, like that type thing. Super helpful if you need to do formatting of any kind.
Wow.
Those are like my best like tips for that I wasn't able to find online.
I'm glad you joined us to share all those knowledge. Thank you. So do we want to try anything, or
Cynthia, you're very quiet over there.
I'm already doing the prompt builder hands-on while you're all talking. I like to see it by myself.
Yeah,
So
I like
it's nice, yeah.
I got that. I also sign into that org demo, and it is like directly on the seller form. I also want to try because Chatra and I going to do we are going to speak on prompt builder. We don't know actually. Chatra tried something. I never tried anything yet, and we are going to present in the Mile High Dreaming. Want to know?
that's cool. Well, you have plenty of time to practice, I'm sure.
Thank you, Gaby. I see we have Ranga here. He's from Sri Lanka, and I think it is too late or early for him to. Ranga, you want to give introduce yourself? Because I think most of us introduced ourselves and we are in the end, but I would like if you can introduce yourself.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I'm Ranga. I'm from
Hi,
Sri
Ranga.
Lanka. And
He's actually how many years or months in the ecosystem?
yeah, I'm only 3 months in the right now in the ecosystem.
Oh, you're brand new.
Yeah. And what is the time now, Ranga?
It's around 4:30, like
AM, 4:30 AM.
yeah.
I appreciate you join. You are eager to learn something new.
Yeah.
I like the passion. Yeah.
Do we have any Q&As or any other stuff to discuss? Any suggestions, comments?
I think we had the Q&A and yeah.
Yeah, actually, thank you very much, Gabby, for this wonderful session. Actually, still we need to do some hands-on to get a good knowledge about these concepts.
Definitely.
And yeah, we will look forward to do that too. And anything else to add, Gabby?
No, I think my biggest thing on here is getting my head wrapped around, more or less, kind of the business side of things. As a developer, I tend to be so deep into code that, seeing the practicality of how to use it and when to use it, that's the what I still need to get my hands on.
Yeah. How about you, Gabby? Anything else to add, or are we good to wrap up?
I think we're good to wrap up. I think there will be more to come. I know that Dreamforce is going to be very heavily with a huge focus on data and AI. So I think there's going to be a lot more being announced, and hopefully we'll see some documentation coming out soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try to have a series of sessions related to this AI, because I know it's a area to discuss. So we will have a lot of things to discuss in future. So yeah, I have appreciate about your contribution, Gabby. It was a great
Yeah, that
session.
was nice. That was a great session. Thank you so much. And as soon I request Gabby accepted it, and I'm so happy because I was searching for a speaker for my first event. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I
Anybody else?
think yeah.
Yeah, then thank you all for joining with us. It is so nice to have you all, and I hope you will join with us in our upcoming events.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
That's very
Thank
nice.
you. Have a nice
Thank you
one.
very
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.